Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video we are going to be looking at the different types of liabilities. All right, I believe that in the previous videos we have discussed already about what liabilities are all about. Okay, but before I continue, let me just take you through, give you a brief explanation of what liability is. So liabilities simply refers to company's obligation, debts that the company owes. Okay, like I always try to bring down whatever I'm explaining in the lowest form so you can better understand. So if a company gets a loan, that's a liability. So these are money that are being owed, that the company owe outsiders. Like I said, for example, in the previous video, I said, for example, employee salaries, we have employee salaries, we have vendors, we have government agencies. So whatever that the company owe outsiders is that they are supposed to pay is what we call liability. So these liabilities remain a liability until when the company pay this money. So the money is actually paid over time, and this comes as a result of business operations, as a result of past business operations or regular business operations. That is when the liability arises. So when they do a transaction with the company or they take a loan with the company, that is when they incur this liability. So we have examples of liabilities. We have like account payables, we have mortgages, we have loans, we have accrued expenses, we have defect revenues, and so on. So those are what we call liabilities. Okay, now in this video, without wasting much of your time, but first I would like to thank you all for coming back to watch my videos, and for those that are watching my video for the very first time, please do me a favor to subscribe to my channel. Okay, so this channel is meant in giving knowledge in accounting, other subjects, as well as little advice to secondary school students out there. Okay, so please do me a favor and subscribe. If you know any accounting students that need such knowledge, share my videos to them, share it to them, to as many people as possible. I am grateful. Thank you. Okay, so now looking at liabilities, we have different types of liabilities. All right, so liabilities are divided into three. We have the current liabilities, we have the non-current liabilities, and we have the contingent liabilities. Now let's look at what these liabilities are all about. Now in the case of a current liability, we can also call it short-term liability. Now these are liabilities, or these are debts, okay, that the company owes, and it's supposed to pay this debt within a year. Alright, so if they get a loan from a company, and now this company, they come into an agreement that this money you're taking, you're supposed to pay it within a year. Alright, 0 to 12 months, you're supposed to pay this loan. That is what we call current liabilities. Alright, and the company needs to really monitor these current liabilities. They really need to make sure that, because since the time is shorter to pay, so they need to make sure that there is enough assets, so that in case of anything they'll be able to sell that asset and cover up with that liability. So they really need to put an eye. A company, when it comes to current liabilities, a company really needs to put an eye on these debts they are owing, because it has a shorter period of payment. All right, you know, if you get a loan and let's say they ask you to pay, let's say 2 or 3 months time, you need to be very careful. All right, so that it should not be a case where when these people come back to get their money and we say there is no money, that would be too bad. Because they have given you a shorter period of time. They've given a long period of time, you could like say, okay, I forgot, and then you remember, and then they receive time to fix things out. But now with this current liability or short-term liability, they are supposed to be paid within a year. So management needs to always look into it and ensure that there is enough assets in order to meet up that, in case of anything, they'll be able to sell and meet up with these short-term liabilities. Okay, so that is just what current liability is all about. In another video, we are going to be looking at the different types of current liabilities. So in this video, I just want to rush through the different types of liability, so we get an overview of it before we now go deeply into the different types of current liabilities, different types of non-current liabilities, and contingent liabilities. Okay, now so let's talk about the non-current liabilities. Non-current liabilities are also known as long-term liabilities. Now, with such liabilities or such debt, the company can pay 1 year or more than. Okay, so you can pay 1 year and above. It's different from the short-term liability or the current liability, where you have to pay within a year. With a long-term liability, you have to pay it. You can pay it a year or above. All right, so it has a longer period of time for the debt to be paid. But one thing, it's very, very dangerous. It's very, very dangerous when it comes to non-current liability or long-term liability. Why do I say it's very dangerous? Because this money, they used to take such long-term loan in order to finance a business. You can actually get a loan to finance a project, a new project, okay, or invest or more money into the business. So it's kind of really dangerous, because the money is usually huge. The money is usually huge in a way that if the company doesn't take care, in my experience, a solvency crisis. Okay, so when we talk of solvency crisis, what do we mean? It's just a situation where if a company is unable to pay the long-term debt, even if you sell that company, with its assets, it will not still be able to meet up with its liabilities. So that is why it's very dangerous whenever a company is getting a long-term debt. They need to be very, very careful, so they don't go through this solvency crisis, where even if you sell the company and its asset, when they say the company has gone through solvency crisis, just know that even no matter the amount of things they have in that company, if they sell the whole of that company, their assets, everything, they will still not be able to meet up with the liabilities. That's the money or the debts they have borrowed. All right, so that is just what we call long-term liability. So long-term liability has a longer period of payment, that it should be 1 year and above. All right, 1 year and above. So, and it's very, very dangerous. Very dangerous, because the money they used to get for this long-term debt is usually huge. It's not a small money at all. Usually huge, and most of the time, the reason why they get this money is to finance a new project or put more money into the business. Okay, so it takes a longer period of payment. That is non-current liability. So current liabilities, you have to pay it within a year. Non-current liability, you can pay it 1 year or above. All right, now let's go to contingent liability. Now, with contingent liability, it's just from the name, it's just a liability that arises. This liability arises as a result of the outcome of a future event. When we talk of the outcome of a future event, what do we mean by this? Okay, now let's take, for example, we have product warranties, we have lawsuits. Okay, let's take example of lawsuit. So let me just explain an example of lawsuit, so you can better understand what this contingent liability is all about. All right, so with contingent liabilities, it happens as a result of the outcome of a future event. It means, for example, if there is a lawsuit of a company, right? Let's say they claim the company 10 million, let's just $10 million, something like that. And at the end of the day, we'll go to the court and settle everything, and they discover that this company is innocent. Okay, it's innocent and it's not supposed to pay this lawsuit. It's not supposed to pay this 10 million. The company will not pay. But if it happens that the outcome is that the company has to pay that 10 million, it will then pay the money. So with contingent liability, they don't just record it immediately until when the events occur and the outcome is actually seen, to be sure that, okay, this company can, because there can be a lawsuit, then they go to the court and so on and so forth, and the company is okay, it will not pay, but it can still happen. So in this case, with the contingent liability, it can happen at the same time, it cannot happen. The company can pay this 10 million, at the same time it cannot pay this 10 million, depending on the outcome of the events. All right, so most of the time, the company usually records these contingent liabilities when there is a possibility, a more than 50% possibility, that the company will pay the money, or the company is guilty. All right, but if it's just a 50% chance, then they will not record the liability at that moment. They will have to wait until that event occur and the outcome is being brought out, and then they determine how much, if they are to pay or not, and then how they are going to record it in their books. So that is what contingent liability is. It's not really certain. It's just it's not really certain that the company will pay for the liabilities or the company will not pay for the liabilities. Like I've taken the case of lawsuit. If they get to the court and the company is guilty, then the company will have to pay this 10 million. That is when the contingent liability will be recorded. Yes, but if the company does not have to pay for this 10 million, or they are actually innocent, they are not supposed to pay for this 10 million, the contingent liability will not be recorded. So if it's a 50% chance, they will have to wait until the event occur and they get the outcome before they record it. But if there is a chance more than 50% that the company will pay this money or the company will be guilty, then in that case the company will have to just record the contingent liabilities. So guys, that is just it about the different types of liability. You have the current liability, that is also known as a short-term liability, and I said that with this liability you have to pay the money within a year. Secondly, we have the non-current liability, which is also known as long-term liability, and I said that with such liability you pay a year and above. All right, you pay a year and above, and most of the time these long-term liabilities are taken to finance new projects or to invest more money, to put more money or capital into the business. And it is very dangerous. I still insist, it is very dangerous if the company doesn't take care of this liability and goes through solvency crisis. It's going to be very, very dangerous, because it said the whole of that company, the company will still be owing the bank or the wherever they got the money from. All right, so that's long-term liability or non-current liability. They pay a year or and above. And then we have the contingent liability, which I said it's something that can happen at the same time, cannot happen unless it's a 50% chance. If it's a 50% chance, they will not still record unless it is more than 50%. Like I said, there's a 50% chance that the company will be guilty and the company will have to pay this money. That is when we record it in the book. If not, then we will have to wait until the events occur, then the outcome, then we know how to go about it. Alright, so that is just it about the different types of liability. In the next video, we are going to be go deeply and understand examples of current liabilities, examples of non-current liabilities, example of contingent. Thank you guys so much for watching my videos. Please don't forget to subscribe, share my videos with as many people as possible. Thank you so much. Leave a comment at the comment section. Thank you and have a blessed day.